We all
Safety is the biggest issue for me. And I love when you say, like, yo, we can focus on this racism thing. You're going to get nowhere with it because it's going to always be there.
always gonna be there.
It's not saying don't talk about it. It's not saying don't confront it, but we cannot afford to prioritize the race baiting game from anybody, whether you on the right side or whether you on the left. It's
Yes.
all race baiting.
The Crucial Combo Podcast.
You could be anywhere if you're on this channel. Thank you for tuning in.
To the Crucial Combo Podcast.
So the problem is, I think, is that when I say we, I mean as black people in this country, I think, and I've said this before on this channel, that I think that we're more scared of racism than we are more focused on racism than we are actually coming together to do something. Minister Farrakhan, for example, he's a great example, right? So he's been telling black people to do something, do for self, do for each other, pool your money, build. He's been saying this forever, and obviously before him, Malcolm X and Elijah Muhammad. But just talking about Minister Farrakhan, who's been in Chicago, I had my mom had a friend who lived next door to Minister Farrakhan. So I remember the Thanksgiving after my father died, '98. We went and had dinner at this friend's house. He's a lawyer, and he lived next door to Minister Farrakhan. And I remember how, Chicago is like a lot of cities. You got some rough blocks, and then you have some nice
Bruh,
blocks.
yes.
So I always tell people, I said, well, when you go to Minister Farrakhan's block, ain't nobody messing around on that block. That's a big, beautiful house. And I remember them telling me, they're like, yeah, this is Minister Farrakhan's house right there next door. I said, wow. And I just remember looking at it and I said, man, this block is quiet. And but point being is that he's been telling black people that forever. So I think that's why I think in present day, right? Trump, quote unquote, being a racist may or may not be true. I think in many ways it's slightly irrelevant because what I notice about us politically, black people, is that we are very sensitive to race, the concept of racism, which I get. I understand it. I get why. But we're also blind to what goes on with us locally and our lack thereof of coming together too. So, for example, and let me tie this all together too, because this is one of the reasons why I give the Chicago Flips Red people props, right? No, I'm gonna tell you why. Because I listen. I listen. I know.
I want to talk to them, bruh.
But here's the thing. I'll tell you that here's the thing. I can't speak for them, but one of the reasons why I had given, because Zoe Lee, I had her on the channel. I saw her on the Breakfast Club. She
Mm-hmm.
knew Charlemagne somehow. She was on the Breakfast Club a year and a half ago. I
Yeah.
randomly saw her interview where she talked about how Chicago had confiscated, how she got into this whole thing. Chicago had confiscated her mother's property through some type of eminent domain. And then,
I like Zoe, bruh.
yeah, and that's
I
how she
like her.
started. So she founded it. And then Danny C, her co-founder, had the same issue. So what I found interesting about what they were doing,
Mm-hmm.
so Chicago, just going back to Chicago real quick, Chicago has been Democrat forever. Democrat stronghold, Illinois Democrat stronghold. I live
Yes,
in New
sir.
Jersey. New Jersey's the same, but Chicago has been Democrat stronghold for over 100 years.
Yeah.
So when they start going Chicago flips red, I've had some people, offline kind of debate me about it and be like, oh, they think Trump is the answer and you think Republicans is the answer. And I'm like, it ain't about that. The point is that you got to apply pressure. You got to apply pressure. And another great example, Dave Anderson said this on another podcast I saw him on. He made a great point. Here's the thing: black people spend more time worried about the Republican Party that we don't vote for and doesn't run most of where we live. We spend more time focused on them than focusing on the people who actually run where you live. You got to apply pressure. You're supposed to be scrutinizing who is governing you. It doesn't make sense to focus on something else. So my thing is that the pressure they're applying, the Chicago flips red concept, I think is important because in Illinois, you could tell me if I'm wrong, but my experience in Illinois and what I've always seen living there and not living there is that they like, so what? You don't like it. What you gonna do? We going as a party, we gonna get in office. I've seen it in Chicago. I've seen it in the South suburbs. What you gonna do? Everybody's part of the Democratic machine. You ain't gonna get nobody out. You know what I'm saying? Tiffany Henya ran Dalton into this little ass town, was all over the news. A little ass town I grew up in. Dalton, 20,000 people.
Thug
All,
life.
all over the internet. And Riverdale, same problem. Harvey broke. So the thing is that you have to pay attention, in my opinion. Where what I think is interesting for black people is that there's this legacy of racism that everybody's saying you're supposed to be scared about. Project 2025 is all I heard about going up to this election. And I said, well, you worried about Project 2025, but we got to worry about who's governing us. It's very important because black people, we have a lot of black mayors. We have a lot of black people who work in city government, right? So it's not like I guess my point is that it's not like you don't have black people who are in the offices running where you live. You understand what I'm saying? So my thing is that you have to hold them accountable and pay attention. And there's almost like this thing where it's like, well, a lot of us are almost like, well, I don't want to criticize them too much because Trump, da 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 da. And I see a lot of people because Trump, something, 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 something. And I'm like, well, you should criticize where you live. You know what I'm saying? Like if you live in Dalton,
Yeah.
Trump ain't got nothing to do with Tiffany Henyard running the town into a $5 million deficit. Trump ain't got nothing to do with Harvey.
I don't know. He may have had his foot in there.
Harvey bankrupt. They firing all the firefighters and police. They got to cut so much. It's whoever's running it is responsible.
I think what happens is that we're a predominantly black city for the most part, right? I think you're going to if you've got a white rural area that is high poverty, like there's a white ghetto like on the south side, dude, like southwest. Like
Mm-hmm.
there, we talking some rough trailer park areas, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's where crime is.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I think when you have impoverished areas, whether it's on the south side or the west side, you're going to find wherever you find impoverished areas, you're going to find high crime. Like
Sure.
those are just facts. I don't care what neighborhood or community that it's in. I
Sure.
think the thing about downtown that is important that you pointed out earlier to go back to that point is Jesse Jackson said this. He said, you can see your neighbor's house on fire. And you're like, oh, well, it ain't touching my crib, so I'm good. Then you see your other neighbor's house on fire next to it. You're like, ain't touching my house. It's all good. But then when it hits your house, now we got a problem. And that's how I look at downtown Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
When black kids were jumping each other and murdering each other on the south side of Chicago and the west side of Chicago, nobody gave a flying flip. And if you think about it, these black kids who are going downtown are hurting each other.
Yeah.
They're not attacking white people downtown.
Mm-hmm.
They're attacking the white infrastructure downtown. Now, it's all criminal minded. It's all stupid. It's all dumb. But the laws in this city, in this state, are written to protect young people. As far as I'm concerned, there should be no minor protected when you commit a crime. Your name should be blasted up just like a grown man's name should be blasted up. That's just my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my thought. Right? So if you can put a kid up who got murdered at 14, you can put a kid up who murdered him at 14. That's my take on it. That's it could be a shallow view. It is. I'm not a lawyer, so I'm getting into all that stuff.
It's
I,
definitely
I
true.
think you're spot on about downtown, but this is the prevalence of social media, the strategic strategy of how they do these things. When we had the bad shooting that came when the young left a listening party, yeah, it was
Right.
a very bad shooting, but
Right.
that was a targeted shooting.
Right.
That wasn't just any random.
In that
No, that was a
River North
targeted
area.
shooting. That was some group related stuff.
Yeah.
Somebody had a diss record on somebody. They knew they were having this release, and they
Right.
came through and they lit them up. So those are these targeted things, right?
Right.
The United Center, NBA YoungBoy was coming to Chicago to do a concert at the United Center. The United Center canceled it
Mm-hmm.
because they heard he's got something going on, possibly allegedly with Little Dirk, and he didn't want to. They were like, you know what, Chicago, not the Bull Stadium,
Yeah. Not over here.
right? Not over here. And NBA YoungBoy making a killing on tour right now, like he's at 70 million already. But
Yeah.
that's another story. But back to Chicago. I wrote a song for Chicago. I don't know if you heard the song I did for Chicago called "My City." It's on YouTube. Check it out.
I'm gonna definitely check it
Me
out.
and my man Geronimo. But I don't put my stake in politicians.
Right.
People are upset with the alderman here in the 21st ward, first time alderman, and I said, y'all got a lot of things to say. Elections are coming up. Run for office, and that's my biggest thing.
Mm-hmm.
If you got a problem with how things are running, run for alderman or run for some office. Now, I thought about running for alderman once upon a time. I got wisdom to stay away from that because it will compromise you in ways you never thought you'd be
I'll
compromised.
bet. Yeah.
And I believe that. I
Yeah.
believe that, right? So, but I still say like people just need to stay informed. And I don't think many black people, I think racism is being brought up now mainly because of Project 2025. I don't think I can recall the last time a presidency has impacted me directly. Let me say that. Because when the market crashed in 2008, I was still good. Market's crazy now. I'm still good for the most part. Thank you, Lord, for that. I think what happens is I don't think I've seen such an impact from a president he's not even in office a year yet.
Mm-hmm.
And to see that impact, he's withholding $2.1 billion in infrastructure funds from Chicago
Mm-hmm.
just because Chicago is a migrant city.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he doesn't flow in civility. He is a dictator who wants to be treated like one. So he doesn't believe he has to have a conversation with anybody.
Mm-hmm.
As far as I'm concerned, Shara Beckstorm, the National Guard person who got killed, she got killed because the president put her in harm's way. National Guard was not needed in DC at that level, not at that level.
Sure.
But can we get the details on how this dude was able to creep on two National Guard members? Because it's been really hush
That-
about this.
that's a whole episode in itself because
That's a whole episode within itself, right?
recruited at 15. But yeah, I feel you.
Yeah. So that's as soon as they said CIA, I'm like, oh man,
Yeah,
forget it.
yeah.
I don't have time for this.
I hadn't even dug into it because I'm like I already kind
Yeah,
of see where that's probably going.
yeah,
But you know what
yeah,
I'm saying.
yeah,
But
yeah. So, but I think, bro, for Chicago, I don't think this budget is going to pass. I think some aspects of the budget are going to pass, and I'm gonna download it and get into the details. I've just been watching news about it.
yeah,
I'm gonna get into the weeds with it because I think it's gonna be important. But we got problems in Illinois, bro. From the governor's office
yeah,
on down to the mayor's office
yeah.
and to our aldermen. Let me tell you something. I had a conversation with one alderman when Rahm Emanuel got in office. Rahm Emanuel's first budget, the vote was 50-0.
Mm.
So I was like, hey, alderman, let me holler at you, man. He said, what's up? I said, how does this dude come in from leaving the White House? How does he come here? Not just win an election. How does he get a 50-0 vote? And when he said, would you want to go against him?
Hmm. Hmm. There it is. There it is.
There it is, right there,
There it
bro.
is. But that's actually a great point, and that's why I think that that's such a great point because you really don't have any competition in relation to ideology. So the flips red people, a lot of people think it's crazy, and the whole term of flips red is because Chicago is blue, 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 and it's been blue. And it's one of those things where I don't think that being a Republican, quote unquote, is the answer. But the question is, can you really challenge the status quo? Can it actually be challenged? And I think
No,
that somebody has to challenge it because at the end of the day, it's also about policy. So you got to challenge policy. If you don't like policy, to your point, you got to run. But that's part of the answer, in my opinion. Humbly, I think part of it is you can run, but if you're part of the same machine and you're running, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? You just a different name. You know what I'm saying? But a different ideology or a different party, quote unquote, to challenge what's there, that's the only thing that really applies any real pressure. You know what I'm saying? So I think that Chicago needs that. And there's a lot of people, even in regards to Democrat Republican, who want a third party or want something else to choose from. But the problem is that you just don't have that. Well, put it like this: we all know that, like we said earlier,
bro, you
Democrat.
black, you black, you voting Democrat in Illinois, pretty predominantly in Chicago.
Well,
But
well,
let me say this:
go ahead,
if
please.
I had an opportunity, bro,
Yes,
I'm not gonna lie, this gonna be crazy. This may get me in trouble. If they ever opened up an opportunity for aldermen, because you can just run for alderman.
hmm
If they ever opened up an opportunity where aldermen had to be voted for by party, I would probably run as a Republican.
that's great.
And that doesn't mean I'm impressed with the Republican Party. I
Yeah,
think the men in the Republican Party right now are the biggest bunch of cowards I've ever seen in my life. Personally, I think they have no backbone, they have no spine, and I'm gonna say the same thing for some cats on the Democratic side because at the end of the day, if we want to talk racism benefits white people on the Democratic Party side like it benefits white people on the Republican side. Let me just
absolutely,
call that what it is.
absolutely.
Let's just level the playing field and get that out the way. If people think Barack Obama didn't have problems being a black man in the Democratic Party as president amongst Democrats, they're crazy.
Well, I think also too. This is my personal opinion. I think that racism is the way the parties control black people. I think that you can control black people very easily by stoking racism. And
White people too.
I'm not saying racism ain't a thing, but I'm saying that for black people, that's always the conversation when it comes to black people in America, when it comes to policy and politics. It's always regarding crime and racism, but it's not usually talking about things like lower taxes, uh, better resources.
Look at
Balance.
the hell we've been through, bro. We've been through hell and back in this city, man, and that's why in this country,
I
bro.
get it. I get
That's
it.
why.
I
You
know.
know,
I
and I
get it.
don't.
I get why.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
get why.
We've been through hell, bro, for
I
real.
get why, but we are a fully rounded people. That's my thing, is that we're a fully rounded people. So I think to me it seems like for black people, they only cater to a portion of who black people are in this country. And that's one of the things that they kind of the Democratic Party got that they got it down like, well, it's changing now in my opinion, but
I
they
don't
got
think so
that
no more,
programmed
bro.
really, really well. They
I
got
don't
it
think
really
so. I don't think so to this day, bro. I think the polarization of Donald Trump, seeing how he was in his first term with some of his antics, is what really turned a lot of people off. But like that turned a lot of people off. That also turned a lot of people on. I think
right.
right now, and again, I'm talking to people who I know who were gonna lean. They were voting for Kamala up until the point she had that interview with the View, dog. Like
Well, I'm
that
one.
was, yeah.
I'm one. I'm telling you, I was like, I did not come out like, oh, I'm gonna vote for Trump. I was like, I didn't know Kamala. very well. So I said, well, I'm interested to know about her. I'm interested to know who is she, you know, and people were like, oh, well, she's educated and she's a vice president. She was a lawyer. I said, cool, but who is she though? Who is she? What's she about? What policies is she about? Before I go on and be like, oh, yes, she's for us and she's for black people and she's for whatever. Let me actually confirm it. Let me just not look at her skin tone and say she's automatically a great candidate. I said, let me see what I hear. And
Yeah.
what happened for me, to your point, is that she came on and didn't present things. She didn't present anything for me that sounded real. So then I was like, okay, I'm not gonna.
But she ain't have to for me. I'm just gonna call that out. I'm gonna call that what it is. She ain't have to for
I
me.
got you. I
I wasn't voting for
I
dude
got
at
you.
all.
But
You know,
that's cool because there are a lot of people who did vote in that way where like I can't do him. And then there were some people, to your point earlier, who automatically said I can't do her. She's a woman, she's this, she's that. So I know that that's
she definitely had. Oh,
I
sexism
know
was
that
definitely
that's
on the
real.
table, bro.
I know
Sexism was definitely on the table.
I know that's real, but people my problem is that people acted like that's all it was. That's my only thing about Kamala. People acted
Ooh.
like that's all it was. And I think there were a lot of people who were willing to. I think there's more people like me than there is people like you described at your church who was like, nah, I can't vote for her. God don't want a woman to run the country. I think those are a minority of people. That's just my opinion. I think there's a lot more people who were level headed and said, you know what? Listen, I think honestly, Hillary could have. I tell people all the time, Hillary could have won against Donald Trump. She just came in and acted like she deserved it. And then why would you vote for him? I'm me. And I think that was her biggest mistake. If she didn't come, because she came to the table like she deserved it and it's hers because we didn't pick her the first time when she ran against Barack in '08. So it's like, obviously I'm the right choice. And I'm like, maybe you aren't obviously the right choice. 2016 was a different time than 2008. I think she underestimated that. And I think Kamala just didn't come equipped. I think she reasonably could have won. But,
Bro, let's make this clear. The sister had 6 months to put a campaign together.
oh, no, Tony, you're not
No,
going to
no,
do that.
hear me out. Hear me out.
I'm hearing you
She
out.
did.
I'm hearing you.
She had 6 months to put a campaign together.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's an instinct. That's the instinct is not the word. That is a distinct problem that exists within the Democratic Party. The Democratic the worst thing they doing right now is thinking that people being upset with Donald Trump is going to give them a shoe in 2028.
Correct.
That's the worst thing that they could think right now.
Yep.
People have still not seen a strategy for the Democratic Party. As a matter of fact, why isn't there a candidate right now? Don't wait till 2026 and a half or the beginning. Why isn't there a candidate right now at the forefront for the Democratic Party? And this is why. Somebody mock my words. Somebody, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But let's just lock it down. December 6th, 22:29, 10:29 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
Central Standard Time. If the Democratic Party does not find a way to become a voice for the people without mentioning the name Donald J. Trump, they're going to lose in 2028 again.
I don't think they
Keep
can do it.
Donald Trump name out of your mouth and get to know the people of this country because they've already showed you only got 4 years to turn things around. And if you don't, they'll go right back with another Republican who's going to be smarter and who's going to be a real racist if you want to get down to it. But we've been playing. Democrats keep playing the short game, bro. They're not playing the long game. The long game is putting federal judges who you need aligned in place years before. It's running and keeping an impact on local elections. You saw the turnaround from Barack first time in office. People were so disenfranchised with him. You saw what happened in the next 4 years. All them local counties started taking over, started getting all that grassroots work that he had did. People pulled back because the brother had so much pressure on him. And I'm not making a mistake for him, but he couldn't do half the stuff Donald Trump doing right now. The dude wore a tan suit and Fox News said went crazy about it.
Sure.
Let Barack Obama call a woman, a reporter, stupid.
Yeah, that
or
wouldn't
piggy.
happen. That wouldn't
It,
happen.
w- it, it wouldn't happen,
It wouldn't
right?
happen.
But if the Democratic Party, mark my words, bro, if the
I
if the
agree with
only
you.
talking point you have is Donald Trump coming out of your mouth, you are not going to win in 2028.
I agree
I'm
with
going
you
to
a
tell you that
thousand
now.
percent. 1,000%. I mean, I think that's he's the boogeyman. And he's what they use to fill in for lack thereof of a plan. And I think that I don't have a problem with it as a black voter in America because I don't think that I don't think that black people should be automatically for black people. I think it's the worst thing to be automatically Democrat. I think that it's so engraved, in my opinion, in the psyche of black people to be Democrat. It's almost like some special thing to be like I'm black and I'm a Republican or I'm just the idea that you're gonna vote for somebody who's not a Democrat. I mean, I whether you're talking about locally, federally, state, city. I mean, from what I've seen, there it's
Yeah.
almost like an obligation, and I only see that with black people. I don't see that with any other group of people where
Oh, you got to be kidding me, bro. Come on.
they
Come
no,
on.
I'm saying they freely. Am I lying? They can freely vote Republican. They freely
No,
can.
bro.
No,
You have to
the
acknowledge the
Spanish vote,
extreme
the white
on
vote.
the other side. You have to acknowledge the extreme on the other side, bro.
What extreme?
Like there are hardcore white people who only vote on the Republican side because they're hardcore white people.
No,
A
no, I
lot of
agree
them
with that.
are,
I
yeah,
agree with that.
yeah.
What I'm saying is that white people have the freedom to be both. I'm
Oh, absolutely.
and I'm saying
They
that
got a luxury.
black people don't have not afforded themselves the freedom to be both. That's what I'm saying. Like, yes, there's hardcore white conservative Republicans and there's hardcore white liberals, but black people are all like there was a video they show there was a video I saw yesterday of this older white woman talking to this younger black girl saying how can somebody black or with brown skin be a conservative. And this white woman got so mad. I think she punched the girl in the mouth or something like that. And I think they arrested the older white woman. But some of the white liberals, they look at you like you out of your mind to even consider. But
Yeah.
they could consider voting something another party. But for black people look at us and they say, well, how could you ever even consider not Donald Trump per se? The people act like Donald Trump invented the Republican Party. Donald Trump just became a Republican because that it was advantageous. He
He's
used to
not
be a
even a
Democrat.
Republican, dude. Let's deal with that. He's not a Republican.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
He is a dude who got in power and he like, hey, if this, you know what? I'm telling you, when he leaves office, there will be a third political party in this world. You will have Democrats, Republicans, and MAGA.
Well,
They're not
I,
going
I
anywhere.
I don't I don't doubt that, but I think for me, I'm just like what's more scary to me than MAGA, Project 2025 or anything else is black people in our country not knowing what we want to actually vote for. What do we really want? Because the only consensus that I get, and maybe it's just me, the only consensus I get amongst the larger, greater black community is that we just don't want this idea. We don't want racism. That's our biggest thing we're scared of is racism and quote unquote oppression, which I think is I understand it, but I said that's the only thing we're talking about. Um and that's why I ran things back to Chicago because I'm like, how how can people not be well, people are bothered by high taxes. People are bothered by what's going on. But to me, that's actually the biggest problem. It's actually the biggest problem more than racism. Most black people in this country, or most people, black people included, are facing, and this kind of brings it forth to what I wanted to talk about in relation to where we're going in America. What we
Yeah.
really face more than racism, we face the change in America, AI, what AI is going to do to jobs, what the country's going to look like. You do have racists, but
Yeah,
America, we're not going to go, in my opinion, we're not going to go back to a time where black people are scared of being lynched and killed. I mean, all this stuff is a fairy tale to me. Like,
it's not a fairy tale to me. As long as there's a sundown town still in existence, bruh.
no, it
you know,
exists. I'm not saying it doesn't.
it
I'm not saying it doesn't
yeah,
exist,
it's
but
not mainstream. I know what you're saying. You're
but
like, it exists, but that's not the most pressing thing that we really have going
that's not
on right
even
now.
that's not even black. In my opinion, that's not even black people's experience. Doesn't even have to be that. We have evolved, in my opinion, so much in this country. I'll say this real quick too, and I've never said this on this channel before.
Uh-oh. I'm
I've
gonna be
never said
quiet
this
and
on
brace
this channel
myself,
before,
bro.
but I'm gonna say it because my wife and I talk about this all the time. You know what I find interesting, for instance, for us as black people. So there was a clip where Sunny Hostin, of course, we're talking about The View. Sunny Hostin, she had a clip where she talked about, this was after what incident did this happen after? This it was pretty recent. I can't remember what incident made them talk about this, but she talked about an incident where um her son, Sunny Hostin, talked about her son. She had to go to the police station. She went to the police station to let them know, this is my son. If you guys have a problem, just make sure, this is just to warn the police station that this is my son, because she lives in an all white area and she knows her son likes to jog and her son's an athlete or whatever the case is. And
Yeah,
I
she's
and
trying to
I had
protect her
posed the
son. I
question.
got
I
you.
said, I posed the question. I said, well, here's somebody who's supposed to be so worried about black and brown issues and racism. I said, well, why don't she live around any black people? And I did a video on it. Some people agreed, some people had their opinion in the comments, but I say that to say that there's a lot of black people who be like, they're worried about racism, and that's the number one thing, and all of that. Black lives matter, and they're the narrative is all that. And then I'd be like, well, where do you live? I said, why you don't live around any black people? Like,
So pause. I'm glad you brought this up. I'm actually glad you brought this up. So Dewan, we had a song called Racist Hell back in the day. And Dewan had a classic line in that song. You can't live near the whites because they don't like brothers. You can't live near the blacks because they kill each other. You can't live nowhere because it's all hate. Ain't no time to wait. You better find some all state. It's a perfect question, but that's the answer, bro. So there's two people. My man is on. I can't think of his name. Man, I can't think of his name. I listened to him. He's an independent, but he's highly conservative. And then
um,
there's Dr. Boyce Watkins.
mm-hmm,
And I love Dr. Boyce Watkins. I've got some stock tips from him. I
mm-hmm,
tune into that dudes because I don't believe you cut people off because they speak in something it may be hard for you to hear.
sure,
So Dr. Boyce Watkins talks about Chicago a lot,
mm-hmm,
but Dr. Boyce lives in the burbs.
mm-hmm,
There's another brother on the radio who got his mouth on Chicago all the time. But he was like, I moved out of the city because of the crime. But you
mm-hmm,
still got your mouth on the city.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
So some of us actually live in this city and stay in this city and put in work with young people in this city.
mm-hmm,
We don't get to leave.
mm-hmm,
And I could have moved to the burbs years ago, bro.
mm-hmm.
The one reason I didn't wasn't because I didn't want to not the property taxes. So when you talk 40 and 50%, bro, I know people whose property taxes went 100%
Mm-hmm.
from 13,000 up to like 44,000.
Mm-hmm.
My boys went from 3,000 to 7,500 in a blink, in a moment. And the county messed up their tax records, so they had to send them out late. So we just got our tax bills a week and a half ago. So families ticked off because Christmas coming up, and now no, you ain't gotta choose between that. You better pay them property taxes,
Better pay them property taxes.
right? But I think it's I would have been one dude on your podcast that day when you were like, "Well, I just got a question for Sonny." Because it's a legitimate question. And I don't know. Hey, and if you say, yeah, I'd rather live next door to a racist than I would a criminal. Well, that goes with a whole different association, which think about black people altogether.
Well,
You
precisely.
see what I'm
So
saying?
so when you exactly. So
And I'm not saying that for me. I'm just saying,
no,
like
no,
in general thought. Yeah.
absolutely. You're hitting the nail on the head because that's exactly the point. And me and my wife were having this conversation. So when we bought a house, we I particularly wanted to be in an area that was majority black, right? So we did that. And the reason being is that and I'm not knocking people. I think people should live where they want to live. There's plenty of black people who don't live around black people. I'm not knocking everybody.
Yeah,
But what
absolutely.
I'm saying is that we have this issue where we some of us talk about racism all the time and we're so worried about white people. But then you go and you look at their actual life and you say, well, hmm, you don't live around any black people. Your kids don't go to school with any black people. And you worried about white people. You're worried about Project 2025. You're worried about Donald Trump. Well, why we don't live around, you know what I'm saying? And then me, I come along and I said, well, I voted for Donald Trump. And I honestly don't like I,
Like
I
Mufasa.
and I don't necessarily think that we should all be Democrat. I'm not crazy about all the Democrat policies. And I don't necessarily think every black person's issue in this country is racism per se. Like the 2025 lynching, white people are coming for us racism. I don't think that's our number one issue. But here's the thing. If I said that, you would think that I would live around white people, only white people. You would think that
Hmm.
I would be the one who live around mostly white people.
Yeah.
Then I'll say that, and I'll say
You live around more black folks than the other ones, dude.
I live around I live in East Orange, New Jersey. It's
Yeah.
85%. It's like 90% black. And I
Wow.
moved here purposely. I didn't grow up here. I didn't,
Yeah.
I moved here purposely. My wife and I moved here purposely. So we moved here purposely because we wanted our kids to be around black people. I didn't
Yeah.
want my kids to be the only black kid in school. And again, I'm not
Yeah.
knocking people, but I'm
Oh
saying
yeah.
that black people have to ask ourselves that question because we talk out of two sides of our mouths. So a lot of us are talking about how can we be worried about Project 2025, Donald Trump, and the country, how racist it is, and then say, well, but I don't live around no black people. Well, and then you say, well, why? Well, like you just said a minute ago, I'm not saying that black people are criminals. I'm not assuming that all black people are criminals
Yeah.
because my actions don't do that. Now there are some neighborhoods that are bad, but you have to do your research. But whether we want to admit it or not, some of us inadvertently, subconsciously or consciously, say to ourselves, well, that's too many black people. It's going to be this or it's going to be that. It's going to be something negative. And
Yeah.
what I'm saying is that we have to get out of that because then when it comes time to vote and it comes times for them to push a message onto us, the liberals will tell you, well, you need to worry about the oppression and how they're treating you and this is what they're doing to you. And then I'm like, hmm, it don't really match up with what people are actually doing personally. So for me, we should be able to we should want to live around black people. So when Sunny Hostin said that, because Sunny Hostin is just an example of somebody, she's quick to talk about anything that's black and brown and racist, and I'm cool with it. It should be brought up. We should have a conversation about
Yeah.
Sandra Bland, and I don't know what she was talking about at the time, but it was we've had so many different issues, right? But
Yeah.
but I would think someone like that would say, okay, I'm not saying she got to live around all black people. And I'm saying like you got to go to the police station to make sure your station knows who your son is because she's saying he's the only only black person who's going to take a jog running through my town. So
I mean, if she trying to prevent her son from being the next Trayvon Martin, I'm
I'm
not
cool
mad
with
at her,
that.
dog.
I'm
Yeah.
cool with that. I
You
get
know.
it. I'm not mad
Yeah.
at it, but I said to myself, why don't you live around the people you are so passionate about, how come you don't live around any? That's just, to me, it's an oxymoron. I really couldn't see myself. That's like me going to say Black Lives Matter, and I'm marching and I'm running around talking about how Black Lives Matter, and then I go home. I don't my kids ain't around no black people. I ain't
Yeah.
around no black people.
Yeah,
It's
man. So,
impossible.
I think part of the reality is, bro, is that we're looking at an administration who is looking to minimize the impact of slavery, who doesn't want to acknowledge the horrendous activity of slavery. I think they just want us to get over it, right? And so we're not going to talk about another group of people who have almost 40. There are almost 45 Holocaust museums in America. I
Sure.
haven't heard one thing about this administration going in there and saying that, oh, the Holocaust was not bad at all. It wasn't that bad. But he has people on his team, people advocating who are Holocaust deniers, right? They work under his administration, but he won't come out blatantly and say that. And so, yeah, I think there is a real threat. Again, Trump is a figurehead. It's the policy writers behind him, the Steve Bannons, the Stephen Miller. These are the cats who I'm talking about with their influence. I don't think I've seen such a threat to felt the impact of it. When I look at what's happening with education, when I look at what this administration is doing to funding, when I look at what this administration is doing to loans and capping loans in the future in this big billionaire bill, when I look and start talking about things like this, those are things that will have a direct line of impact on my household, especially with my daughter wanting to go to law school. And law school is expensive, bro. It's not cheap depending on where she wants to go. I'm
Hmm.
telling her to stay local. But
Right.
but it's like when I look at this administration and the things that they're doing to offset some of these things, I think people have a legitimate right to be concerned. What I like about Dr. Boyce Watkins is he's like, look, you can get sit up and caught up in the race game, or you can learn how to trade some stocks, because stocks don't have no color. The market don't know no color. The market only know green. So we can sit around and complain about white people here and white people. So I listen to Dr. Boyce Watkins. And the main reason I started listening to him, because he started saying stuff that made me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I needed to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I
Yeah.
think that's the problem where I think you're kind of alluding to. It's like, y'all, it's a bigger picture we got to talk about. We don't get to play the race card. I know racism exists, so that's the last thing I think about, and it's on my mind.
Yeah.
I got bigger things to think about than racism.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
I
I
think.
don't want my nephews visiting the city when they come home. I want, hey, stay in your mama house, and when it's time for you to hit the road or get to the airport, we'll take you back. Those are the things I'm concerned about in my city. When my daughter comes home, I don't even sleep when she out, bro.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
hard for me to sleep when she's out.
I believe
She's
you.
in North Carolina, and I feel great. When I should literally feel the same, but when she come home, I'm like, where you going? Where you coming home? I got the tracker on you. All right, I'll be up waiting for you to come home. I got to come out and park the car, close the gate. Just let me know. Like, those are the things I'm talking about.
Hmm.
Where if she got to get to her interview, I got to put her on Metro, because putting her on the CTA can end her life. Those are the things that I'm talking about, we should be talking about. So, yeah, the mayor of Chicago should be put to task on those things. I get it. He's black, beautiful. That's wonderful. I know he's pro-black, beautiful. That's wonderful. But we had a young lady set on fire on the train. We had
Right.
a dude who got stabbed on the train. We got
Right.
a young lady who got raped on the train.
Right.
Come on, bro. Now, you can't control these parents and not sending their kids downtown. I get it. I understand it. Beef up your police. And even he's done that, and they still come. Right?
Hmm.
But when it comes to the issues of public safety on public transportation, as far as I'm concerned, that should be his number one agenda right now. Because,
Absolutely.
yeah, crime is down, but one death is still one too many. I don't care if, oh, well, we only got 300 murders this year, and last year this
Right.
time we had 750.
Right.
Don't nobody care about that.
Right.
300 is still 300 too many. That's
100.
300 families impacted, bro.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Right? So I agree. I think, man, me coming from Ghana, bro, like for me, when I went there, I came back to America with so much empathy for the four corner hustlers, the disciples, the vice lords, the Blackstones. I came back with so much empathy, bro, because those dungeons and the way they describe what happened to especially our men, our sisters, they caught it, but our men, bro, Like we talking about brothers who are standing 7 feet, 6'5", being squished down to see how they fed us.
Mm-hmm.
Like going to them dungeons, man, it just made me come back with a different sense of at least empathy for the wayward amongst us. Not
Mm-hmm.
an excuse for them to be that way,
Mm-hmm.
but it just to see how broken we were, man, and then to understand the bucking that happened when they came here because you had them sadistic Europeans who came over here just as sadistic. You know, wasn't no white folks here. These were Europeans, bro, descendants of Europeans, man. They came over here with the medieval chains and all, man, bro, just knowing what we've gone through. And so to have an administration that wants to minimize that, or they took the painting of the brother with the map on his back from the lynchings, they took that painting down and moved it somewhere else. Like, I think the brutal reality of what Ghana, and that was only going to Ghana, bro. We got a whole coastal line. We ain't even talk about barracoons. We
Right.
ain't talk about the trek and all of that. Going to the last bath, man. It
Yeah.
did so much to me, bro. And so I still feel like we've accomplished a whole lot as a people. Like people would tell me, man, you'll never be a director without a college degree. I'll prove you wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'll do is I'll get my degree after I become a director.
Mm-hmm. Facts.
Just I'm gonna play your game, but I'm gonna show you what God can do through me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna show you what God can do. Right. And so I still think, bro, I'm from the land and I know where you coming from. I think we on the same page. We don't believe in excuses. So I can't blame the white man. I can't blame the thug. I can't blame the Latino brother. All I can do is hold myself accountable because I believe in no excuses. Don't nobody care Tony Briscoe lived in a foster care system. Don't nobody care Tony Briscoe parents left him. And once I realized that, bro, I'm like, oh, I got to take care of myself then. Then wake up. So when I'm working with young people, when I was really involved in the Champs Male Mentoring Program, I would tell them, if you ain't got a daddy at home, I don't care. That ain't my problem. And you know what? It's not your problem either. Let's kill the excuse. That was my motto. All the kids got the exact same treatment from me. 2-parent home, 1-parent home, foster care, or adoption. Baby, I done been there, done that. All that stuff don't matter. We're going to remove all excuses. And I think that's your part of your mentality. And forgive me if I'm wrong. You just don't want to see our people making excuses for why we can't come up and why we can't pursue and why we can't push and why we get caught up in the same voting demographic year after year and we don't see progressive change in our communities. Bobby Rush was a congressman for 20 years. There was no change in the community, bro.
Yeah.
How do you keep somebody in office for 20 or 30 years and there's no change in the communities? And I say the same thing to the white folks. How y'all voting for these dudes over and over again in your poverty level? There's a job I saw at a university in Tennessee. The starting salary is $29,400.
Yeah.
That's McDonald's money,
You
bro.
can't live on that.
You can't live on that. But I'm still from the area of no, and that's what. But Africa also. They're just things we're not taught here. We're taught Christians versus Muslims. Bro, I was in Ghana. I'm in the same room with Christians and Muslims who working together to make sure that they get a market share all the tourists that come.
Right.
They working, bro. It was the crazy. And I'm like, man, wait a minute, y'all working like hand in hand, like together, like they like family over there, bro.
Yeah.
That's not the rhetoric we hear in America coming across the screen. There's a Republican, there's a Latino woman. I can't think of her name. She was on Piers Morgan. Now, you know when Piers Morgan got to tell you a bigot, you know you pretty much out there. But this chick she said dirty Muslims. 50 million dirty Muslims need to go back to the country they came from. The 50 million Muslims in America, she called them dirty Muslims and told them to go back where they came from, bro. Like, this is what I'm talking about. These are the things that people are concerned about with this Republican administration and radicalized people like this, man. But at the end of the day.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm. I'm just going to say, at the end of the day, man, you know, I agree with you. And again, like, voting for Trump, that's you got to vote your interest, man. And one of the elections, I voted for Rahm Emanuel, not because I wanted to. But at the time where I was working, that was the dude that was pouring into the job to get us the funding that we needed. So this is what I'm saying. You can't be in one box your whole life. You're going to have to learn the policies and what's happening and what's important to you. And you're going to have to vote your interests, even if it ticks you off sometime. That's just the reality of voting.
Yeah, it really
That's just
is.
the reality of voting. This dude got, and I'm sure it was some thing about, like, I didn't like, John McCain. Public Enemy made a song about John McCain. When I was voting for that, all I kept hearing in my head was, by the time I was like, oh, Public Enemy gonna get me, boy. But it was like, again, I can't, I had reasons back then. But what I'm saying is, I'm not just one of them. I've never been one of them dudes just walk in and check the box.
Right.
I've
That's
always tried to inform myself by reading the Tribune, by reading liberal news, reading conservative news, lining them up, seeing where the values are, and making my decision based off of that. I've never been a dude that just walked in and checked the box. And even with the judges in Chicago, I've done more the last 10 years to understand all these judges who we have to vote for. See, the average citizen, this is what I'm saying, bro, they not doing any of that work. They just seeing a name, Fitzgerald, vote, Stewart, vote, Marshall, vote.
well,
They vote off.
they go Democrat down, and a lot of places where you do have an option, they go Democrat down the line, man. And I think that my thing is that I don't hate the Democratic Party and I don't love the Republican Party, but I do think, to your point, you're spot on as far as here's the thing, and I've been to the slave castles too. And
Yeah.
yeah, it was something. It's really something to see. Everybody I know who's gone to the slave castles, um who have experienced it, have all had some level of emotional experience to really reflect on, what was done in the transatlantic slave trade. Um but I think that there's nothing there's to me, it's not about forgetting what has happened. It's not about forgetting our history. And I do agree with you, any parts of any administration who's trying to remove or trying to downplay slavery, I think that's obviously wrong. What I do think, as far as black people in this country, what I do like about this time that a lot of people don't like, is that I think we're being forced to evolve and to say, well, what's important to us, right? Um, and we're able to say that, I think we're gonna be able to say to ourselves, what do I want to tell my kids? Because that's really the biggest thing. When you described the way I'm thinking now, I've had debates with some other friends of mine offline that and I would say things like, well, I'd be like, well, where do black people in America want to go in 20 years? Where do we want to be? What do we want for our communities? I mean, a lot of people are like, oh, America's already done. There's nothing we could do. And they're trying to do this. They're trying to do that to black people. They want to do. And I'm just like, I said, okay, there's one thing to be nihilistic as an adult with no children, right? It's one thing to just be there as an adult.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
But you'll find the truth with people when you watch what they tell their children, because that's where the real truth is. You and I could be talking as adults, and you may say anything to me, but what you tell your daughter, you ain't gonna lie to your daughter about the world. You know what I'm saying? You may lie to them as kids, right? You may not lie to them, but
I know what you're saying.
you may
You give
shelter
them
them.
bits and pieces
But
as they go. Yeah.
exactly. But when your kids are getting older, once they get past 10, 12 years old, they start to become teenagers, they're going into the real world.
Yeah.
And you can't feed to them. You can't feed to them. And I'm not talking about you, but I'm talking about in
No, I know what you're
general.
saying.
We
Yeah.
can't feed our kids that the white man got his foot on your neck, and the we don't even live in a country that's white and black anymore. You know what I'm saying? So racism exists, the past exists, should never be erased. But my thing is that how we use the past has to change.
Yeah.
We have to use the past to be actionable, in my opinion. And I think it's dangerous. I don't want your kids or my kids to automatically believe that, oh, it's Democrats are for black people, Republicans are not. That's it's not about party, but it's important to understand how you want your communities.
Yeah.
And we've had Boyce Watkins, like you said. I like where he's coming from. I loved Claude Anderson. I love a lot of
Yeah.
what Powernomics. Read his book a long time ago.
Again, my exposure to Boyce Watkins got me that. So yeah.
Absolutely. And people have to realize that, it's we do have to evolve. We can't use the past as a security blanket. We got to use the past as a learning experience, but it can't be a security blanket. And also, just the last piece I wanted to talk about too.
Yes, sir.
The last piece. I don't We talked about Somalia for a minute, right? In
Yeah.
Minnesota. Or Somalians, the Somali
Yeah.
community. I
Yeah.
don't think what was done was correct as far as ICE sweeping up or Trump um, saying, this whole community is bad or the whole country's bad and the country's gar. The rhetoric that Trump does is off for sure. On the flip side of it, though, my last episode I
Yeah.
tried to cover a lot of the fraud that was done in Minnesota
Mm-hmm.
by people in the Somali community,
Yeah.
and it's not good. It's a lot of money, which does affect all people, including Black people in Minnesota. Um, so it's okay to call each other to accountability. It's okay to look at things and say, okay, even if the person is melanated, it doesn't mean that they're not wrong. It's okay
Oh
for us.
yeah.
It's okay for us to say, well, this was wrong or that was wrong. Um, and I think that I say that to say that Black people ideally it would be great if we all were united as one people, but we all have there's cultural differences that I think will always be there. My thought is that there should be mutual respect regardless, whatever country, Jamaican, Haitian, Ghanaian, whatever, African
Mm-hmm.
American, whatever it is, it should all be mutual respect. But I think at the end of the day, Black people in America, Americanized Black people, cannot be caught up in, to me, in some idea of Pan Africanism that isn't logical, right?
Or doesn't acknowledge us.
Right, correct, exactly.
I'm not trying to. I'm just saying. Like I had an incredibly deep conversation at a security conference in Texas with my Nigerian brothers and sisters, and we talked for a good 45 minutes. And they just laid out how they felt about Black Americans, and I laid out some things to them too. But their opinions, brother, Nigerians don't hold back on their opinions. And this
Yeah.
sister was playing. She was just like, Tony, we view y'all as lazy. And I was like, well, I'm at a security conference with you. What do you view about me? Well, I'm getting to know you. I was like, rough service, bro. But this sister also had 5 degrees. She was like, yeah, we don't understand. And she said, I didn't even know I was a minority till I came to America.
Mm-hmm.
Minority? What are you talking about? I ain't no minority. I'm African. She was like, nah, you Black. He was like, what? But she was just like, yeah, we don't get involved in that stuff. Like we come here and handle our business. We don't give our kids choices in their degrees and all of that. You either gonna be a doctor, a lawyer, or find a way to be both.
But the thing about that is that I think that exists, and then you have this mutual respect that exists. So I think what happens is that opinion does exist amongst
Yeah.
different groups.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but what happens is that people end up thinking that that's everybody. So people have total assumptions about each other, and
Yeah.
they think immigrants, what you call FBAs, don't get along. And I'm like, it's not necessarily true. I think at the end of the day, to me, what we want to have is mutual respect for each other. So that way, and I say that meaning that way, Black American people, um, and I'm including myself in that, being first generation, but you
I hope
know,
so. I hope so.
first generation means you grew up here, but then my wife is African American. Her family roots are tied back to the South. My kids are here, so my kids have never been to Ghana, so I can't be. They don't. They identify where they grew up with. So the
Yeah.
point is that as we move forward, I can't have them running out and be like, "Oh, we're Black people. We need to go and protest and jump in line." We can't be jumping in line for every cause because we feel like everyone who's melanated, we got to jump to the cause. We got to see what it's about. We got to see if it makes sense. So I'm saying that to say that the Minnesota issue, it's okay to say, yo, that's wrong. It's okay. It's okay to understand, to see what is wrong regardless of skin color too, because that's the same mechanism that gets us screwed up politically. So sometimes we look at somebody who's the same color and we say, well, they couldn't have done us wrong.
Yeah.
The main person that does us wrong has to be somebody of another color.
No, I get it, man. But
You know.
it's again, when you have Trump who just throws rhetoric out, right? Like we've
Sure.
heard this dude say within the last month, we need people from three of these white European countries that he was. So we need more people from there to be here. It's rhetoric like that, right? You also have him using rhetoric when he talks about, even though like I saw the news today, there was a Somalian who was like, "Man, I campaigned for this dude," and
Right.
I'm like, "You ain't like him, bro. Like let's just call it what it is. Like when he chunks all Africans in one group,
Yeah.
he means it. And there
Yeah.
are people, whether it's rhetoric or not, or whether he's just loose on the lips, there are people who believe him and believe it, like eating dogs and cats and people's, neighbors getting,
Yeah,
all
I
this
agree.
just insane amount of stuff, right? There are people who actually believe this dude. And
Yeah.
that's the power of his position. He's in a
Right.
leadership role and he has the power to change minds. But my prayer for Donald J. Trump is that the Lord gives him a Paul experience. That's my prayer for him. I'm not praying for that dude to die. I'm not praying for that dude to get murdered. I am praying for that dude's soul to be given a Pauline experience and that he turns his life around by giving it to the Lord. That's my prayer for Donald Trump. All this other stuff, people like hate you. I ain't got time for none of that. That's my
Yeah.
prayer for that dude. My wife and I pray that prayer together, probably once a week, while we praying for other things and praying for our aldermen and praying for our mayor and praying for our pastors and praying for our governor. Like we put action to all these things, man. But
Mhm.
bro, we got to do an episode on the gambling, the freedom of gambling now. We got to do an episode on the impact of marijuana in our community. Like all of these things that are becoming free that are just distractions for our people now, man.
That's a very important point. I mean, there is a ton of distractions, and
Yes.
that's what I'm very worried about for our kids. You know, one of the reasons why I even started this podcast is because I wanted to do conversations to really talk about. I try to focus on, like, to me, I'm almost like, okay, every issue I speak on or talk about, I'm like, well, or people speak on, like, well, what is it that you want? What is the goal? What is the end goal? So I think that's why I feel like, as black people, I feel like I want to keep pushing the conversation to say, okay, well, what is it that we want? Because I think a lot of us do, especially those of us who have children, we want to leave a better world than what we came
Yes.
in, and we try to
Yes.
do whatever we can with whatever we have, right?
Yeah.
um but there's also a lot of people who are, I think, stuck in, a lot of us who are stuck in, we don't have an idea what we want, so we're kind of like security blanketed around what was done, and I'm like, you can't leave your kids that way, because we can't leave our kids just mad and frustrated. That we can't do. I could show my kids um Roots. I could show my kids Mississippi Burning. I could show my kids whatever movie you want to see.
Woo,
Whatever movie you
woo.
want to see,
Yeah.
I could show them that now, and not give them any instruction for the future, right? So I could give them that now and have them feel like, white people don't like black people. I could give them that now, and they could get that subliminal thought in their mind, because there's a lot in our generation. A lot of us grew up that way. It's not that it's not real, but it's just that we got to give our kids tools to move forward with it. It's not saying forget slavery. It's not saying forget Jim Crow. It's not saying forget all of the things that bad that happened. But I think we are evolving to a point where we're like, okay, we're gonna keep talking about that stuff. We're not gonna never talk about it, but we also gonna talk about, hmm, how do we make sure we can live in our own communities and feel happy and safe and want to live around us? You know what I'm saying? Um,
Yeah. That's that's
those are the
that's
things we gotta evolve into,
yeah.
um, because, like I said, Donald Trump, he'll be gone. He'll be gone in 2 years, and
and another one will raise up, right? So I think
But our community, our black people destiny in the future, in this country, I'm a little worried about it because I think we're very distracted and not focused. And I not all of us, but I think
yeah,
we gotta get focused, because I think that other groups of people are a little bit more focused. I think we're not as focused. Um,
well,
and
we better do something because we're third in population now. So that's not going to get, and it's going to get worse for us. Like that
correct.
population gap is going to continue to decrease us. So I think we do have other things to be worried about. It's interesting. My buddy, they had a house in Inglewood. They just got tired of the break-ins and the shootings, so they moved to Oak. They moved to Oak Lawn.
Yeah.
First trip to the park, 5-year-old white kid walks over. She says about 5 or 6. Yeah, at my house we don't like black people. Why the mother's out there with her kids and they hear this.
Hmm.
That's being taught, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So they leave Inglewood because again, can't live near the blacks because they kill each other. They move within a year, I believe. They had a neighbor across the street, white kid, killed his mama, killed his daddy, killed the niece, set the house on fire, and killed himself.
Yeah.
So he's like, man, I move out of the hood
Hmm.
and I move over here and I'm dealing with the exact same thing.
Yeah.
He said, it doesn't make sense. I said, what makes sense is that people are people.
People are people. People are people.
People are people.
People are
I know
people.
why you left. You should have moved.
Yeah, Inglewood is tough. Inglewood is tough. It's tough.
My block, bro, my block, when we moved on this block, bro, it was probably a shooting the first 3 years, almost every other night, bro.
Yeah.
Granted, once a week.
Hmm.
We stopped the block club because all our cribs got hit. We started having block club meetings.
Mm.
We went to we went to a meeting with the police at Third Baptist Church on 95th and Ashland. Came back, all our hubcaps were going on the block. It's like we pilfering and taking from each other. But man,
Hmm.
Ghana just helped me get a different perspective of my people. But I'm still
Yeah.
about the accountability, man. I'm still
Yeah.
about the accountability. I talked to the young man's mother who got killed down at the Bean when Lightfoot shut it down for curfew. And she's one of the mothers. She said, I told my son that he could not go downtown, but I left the house and he went out anyway.
Hmm.
And now he's the example for the rest of my kids on why to listen to your mother when she tell you something.
Man,
Bro, them some strong words,
you ain't
bro.
never lied.
Those some strong words, man.
You ain't never
You know,
lied.
beautiful sister. Rough mama, but beautiful sister, man. And just to know, like you said, bro, like Pastor asked all the ministers. He had us get together, build a think tank, mind map stuff out, took notes on it, put it up, presentation. He's like, I want to know what every one of you, what issue you need solved in this city, in your life, in your community. I want to know, what is it? Then he
Mm.
put me on blast. Briscoe. Yes, sir, Pastor. He's like, what's the number one issue for you? I said, public safety. I know there's a lot going on, but if you're asking me,
Hmm.
it's public safety.
Hmm.
That's the number one issue for me. Because if you can't travel safe in your city, you can't live in your city. And
Yes.
you're going to move somewhere else and you're going to find a place that brings you safety. And I'm
Yeah.
sorry, if that's living next to Jim instead of next to Don, then I'm going to be living next to Jim.
Right. Right.
And I'm hoping that Jim going to be cool with that.
Yeah.
And if Jim is cool with that, I'm cool with that. And we're not going to have any problems. Even if
Yep.
the understanding is don't cross my property line, I won't cross your. No problem, Jim. We
Yep.
straight.
We all.
Safety is the biggest issue for me. And I love when you say, like, yo, we can focus on this racism thing. You're going to get nowhere with it because it's going to always be there.
Always gonna be there.
It's not saying don't talk about it. It's not saying don't confront it. But we cannot afford to prioritize the race baiting game from anybody, whether you on the right side or whether you on the left. It's
Yes.
all race baiting. And I'm
Right.
sure somebody that's like, son, if you think that your only protection is in you being white, you in for a rude awakening. You better get your behind educated.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we do deal with things when you learn that the black unemployment rate for white men with no college degree is lower than black men with college degrees. Then we can start breaking those things down and talking about, hey, what are solutions to fixing this? Like what's driving this and what's causing it? Is it that these white men have industrial jobs where they don't have to have a college degree and they're plumbers and electricians, or they're farmers? Like, let's get into the weeds. Let's not just make the statement. Let's get into the weeds of the why and
Correct.
then unpack it, right? That's the problem I think you're hitting to, that people are not digging into the data. I used to listen to the Wharton School of Business when I had Sirius satellite radio. It
Mm-hmm.
said, in God we trust. Everybody else, you better come with data.
Facts. Facts. And I think that this is the thing that when we start to have these conversations, the thing I like now, and like I said, this is abstractly I wouldn't say distorted, but it's just an abstract way of what I like is happening now. I like the fact that you having more black conservatives. And the reason why is not so much that I'm a conservative, it's because people are starting to say, okay, we all don't have to think. We got to have a full conversation. We got to have a full conversation, and we have to say to ourselves, okay, cool. Like just like you said, we talk about our struggles, we talk about the past. We got to use the past as strength, but we also have to say to ourselves, okay, we got to have a plan for the future for our kids,
Yeah.
and that part is so important now. Like you said, even when we talk about the unemployment rates, um, what has happened, what's happening now a little bit is that when you start to have a different conversation talking about what we need to do or what we can do, talking about family structure, right? That's a whole nother show, but I like to talk about family structure, um, the things that we can do, the things we need to do for us internally. We got to get rid of this idea that, oh, you being a sellout and you you shucking and jiving. Is like there's some people who are shucking and jiving. There's some people who are sellouts. But that conversation about, if you're not just talking about our struggle in our past, if you're not exclusively doing that, then you a sellout. Or you shucking and jiving for white. No, not at all. I think we I think that's changing, is my point. I think that's starting to change. But we gotta allow both parts of that conversation. Because again, people will talk one way, but then you watch where they live and what they tell their children. Two different things. You know what
Just
I'm
just don't
saying?
go Stephen. Just don't go full Stephen A on me, bro. That's all I'm asking,
No,
man.
Steven. Well, listen, I have these debates with a buddy of mine. We used to have these debates all the time. He don't like to be online, but we had these debates where we be talking
Yeah,
about all this stuff when Trump first got in. He be like, oh, you going Patrick Bet David on me, and you going Candace Owens on me, and I'm like, yeah, the conservative space. There's a lot of people who are playing that particular game. I get it. You know what I'm saying? But they don't have solutions either though. They just have rhetoric. So anybody who have a lot of rhetoric and no real solutions, I actually feel like I just want our people to also be empowered. Um, and I think my motivation is a different thing if you don't have any kids. We as
hmm
adults can just talk about what we feel, what we passionate about.
yeah.
But there is a future if you have children. Because if we're not here, you got to say, well, what do I want? What do I want my children to experience and my grandchildren to experience? How do I
Yeah,
want them to think? And my
yeah.
first instinct, bro, to be honest with you, and I know I've been holding you on here for a long time, but
Woo, it's almost 3 hours. Lord, it's all
I
good.
know, I know. But to end it up, I think the motivation for me is we got to empower our children, which is important. And I think that having a full rounded conversation, I think, is important to that. And as far as us as black people, all the different groups of black people, I think the best we can hope for is mutual respect. I don't think all black people will. look at ourselves as just one. I think it's great if we can look at ourselves as one people. I love to. I think of it like that. A lot of people do, but I think that there are a lot of people who hold on to differences, and mutual respect is best case scenario to me. But I think that
Yeah.
that's kind of where we at. So you know,
Yeah. I think for me, I think that we have to acknowledge that most black people are conservative.
man,
We just don't. We just don't.
you
We just don't vote
you
conservative.
you you said it. You said
Yeah.
it. You said
It-
it.
and the main driver is because of racism. I know what it is, but most, if you ask the average black person, and not to go into any weeds here at the end,
Hmm.
they believe in a structured home and a nuclear family that's between um, heterosexual couples. That's the premise of the majority of black households. That's what they believe.
I'm letting you drop the mic on this one. I'm just letting you drop the mic on that one because
When they ask why, then if you have these values, then why do you vote this way? And that's when things start to get unpacked and unraveled. But most black, I would dare to say, most black families, whether they're from a religious background or not, are conservative households who want their kids to be well educated, who want them to find outstanding jobs.
hmm
Entrepreneurship is something relatively new to our community as a whole lately, but we want them to make sure that they are doing things that they can take care of their lives and provide for their families. And they want them to be married. They want them to be wholesome. They want them to have children, raise them up to be good, contributing citizens to society. That is the premise of, I believe, a majority of the black family.
that's
And
it.
that is where the conversation does happen, when we don't have to be all of this and we don't have to be all of that. And we don't have to hate either.
Right.
We just have to make sure that there is alignment. And if your values say, hey, I'm voting for this Republican, then cool. If my values say I'm voting for this Democrat, then cool. What I'm not going to do is insult you in a conversation. I think that's that mutual respect you're talking about. So it's
Hmm.
not enough for you to say that, hey, you black, you better vote. But then when I tell you who I vote for, you want to beat me upside the head with a microphone, because it's like we
Right.
got to have this mutual respect and just agree to disagree.
Yeah.
What we do agree on is that we as a people in this country have made a lot of strides. And I don't care how any administration comes in to try to minimize our history. I don't depend on, take DEI, that didn't benefit us in a large majority anyway. Bye, gone. They're
Yeah.
actually seeing now how that's impacting white men in college registration, but we ain't gonna get into all that. Like, because if you let some things unravel themselves, they're going to have to come back. This administration is talking about a new policy now to bring migrant workers back with legal licenses. You could have done that while they were here, but it's cool. When you do things without a full understanding or knowledge of it, you're going to have to make some changes somewhere along the line. These things will unravel themselves. It'll come back into the fold. I don't think we're dealing with a big threat. I think the biggest threat we're dealing with is if we just don't pay attention to what we need to be doing as a people during this time. I have to acknowledge that every opportunity I've been given has been given by a white man. I remember black men who own businesses was like, Tone, you ain't got a degree. Ain't nothing I can do. It's your business, bro. What are you talking about? You're the freaking CEO. What do you mean there's nothing you can do? What? Are you kidding me? Well, we got a policy.
You are the policy.
You the policy dog. What they're saying, Coming to America, she was like, well, I thought you were the king. Like, and so I acknowledge that. And my daughter knows what I went through on the last job, bro. Like, she hurt for me because she saw the sacrifice I made that cost her, that cost my wife. But she also knows her dad may be an emotional dude, but I don't make decisions out of emotions.
Hmm.
I'm not gonna do that. I want her to know, like, baby girl, I'm telling you now, you're gonna run into racism in your life. What I want you to do is keep moving, because it's not gonna go anywhere. You gotta find a lane and you gotta fight and you gotta pick it. If it's something you want to do, then don't give up on it and don't let nobody throw you in a box. You're gonna have to keep your life moving because nobody gonna care about anybody using racism against you. You're gonna have to find a way to live the life and create the life that you want for you and your family. You're gonna have to keep it moving. So I don't want to hear none of that about race cards. I'm not saying it's not real. I know it's real. I know it exists. But if you spend your energy on that, it will drive you back crap crazy. I want you to go do your best and be your best and build the life that you want for yourself and for your future family. That's what I want you to do. I want you to start thinking about a business that you want to own. I want you to start thinking about creating a Robin Hood account. Lord help me when she come home next week. But it's like, I want you to be focused on the things that will allow you to build. I love conversations. They're great. But if you're not taking action,
Facts.
you're going to be stuck with the complainers.
Yep. Yep.
And not the sustainers. Make a
Yep.
choice.
That's it. Well, you dropped the mic on that one. I ain't gonna even say nothing else, man.
Hey, I appreciate you, bro. Thanks for
No.
always having me. And I love you having me on, man, because my podcast is shut down. I don't even know if I'm going to go back to it, honestly.
Well, if you
So
do,
whenever you have me on, brother, I appreciate you.
if you do go back, I love to come on yours. And I appreciate you coming on this channel, man, because it's just great conversation, man. Just great conversation. So
Yeah,
I appreciate
absolutely.
you, brother. This concludes this episode. This might be broken into 2 episodes. This is so
Oh
good.
no, right?
But
Break
you
it
know,
up. Break it up.
this is like the 2025 wrap up. This might be probably two episodes. I'll break up in two. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean it's been great having you on as always, brother.